Teacher Talking Sports with those we do how we living. In this video, I'm gonna name my mid-season all mostly went undrafted fantasy football team. Will consist of one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. How do I determine whether a player went mostly undrafted? Well, I use the website Fantasy Pros, which took the consensus average draft position from three sources, including CBS Sports. Determined their average draft position, and if it was over 180, if the number was higher than 180, their average draft position, they were eligible to be included. Why 180? Because in a 15 round 12-person draft, 180 guys are drafted. But let's get into it. I'll do this at the end of the season as well. We're starting at quarterback. We're going to go with CJ Stroud, who just had an incredible game, setting the all-time NFL record for most passing yards in a game by a rookie, 470. But it's not like he wasn't doing anything before that, as yesterday was the fifth game where he's thrown at least two touchdown passes. Of course, yesterday, easily a career high with five. He had two other games this season with over 300 passing yards. Also has a rushing touchdown on the season. So the only game without a score was his first career game. Through 8 games, he has 2,270 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, and just one interception. Running back, let's start with Zach Moss. Who would have thought that? Moss was hurt the first game of the season for the Colts. Now, through 8 games, has 615 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. His 16 points per game are 11th for fantasy running backs. He's actually second in the NFL in rushing yards. Yes, he's been getting less carries since Jonathan Taylor came back, but he's still been fairly relevant. Has 2 games with over 100 rushing yards, 4 games with a rushing touchdown, including one with two. Zach Moss, easy choice. And we're also going to go with Gus the Bus, Gus Edwards of the Ravens, from my alma mater of Rutgers. He has 478 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns on the season, 12.1 points per game, 25th at the running back position. But keep in mind, J.K. Dobbins was healthy to start this season, but he has 6 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 games, which I believe tied a Ravens record for most rushing touchdowns over a 3-game span. No, he's not going to give you much in the receiving game, although he does have an 80-yard receiving reception on the season, but just a guy who definitely works well around the goal line and usually finds pay dirt. 2 wide receivers, starting with Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. What an incredible season he's having. He's currently the 10th ranked wide receiver, averaging 17.7 points per game, 64 catches for 827 yards through 9 games. That 827 receiving yards is the fourth most in the NFL, while his receptions are also 4th in the NFL. 3 out of the last 4 games have been so-so. Cooper Kupp has come back, but he still had some good games with Kupp, including an 8-catch, 154-yard game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's had 4 games of at least 119 receiving yards and 2 games with double-digit receptions. Another rookie receiver, we're going to go with Tank Dell of the Houston Texans. Dell is averaging 14.3 points per game, which is 19th most out of wide receivers in 7 games, 28 catches for 454 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yesterday had 2 touchdowns, his first multi-touchdown game of his career, also 114 receiving yards, the second time he's gone over 100 yards on the season. He's also had at least 3 receptions in 6 of his 7 games. Tight end, and he's more of a Swiss Army knife. That is Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints. Currently 11th in tight ends at 10.1 points per game, but that has been increasing as he's been doing more with the ball. He has 20 carries over the last 2 games, 5 receptions. Also has a passing touchdown on the season, 3 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games. His first receiving touchdown of the season came yesterday. All in all, 255 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, 20 receptions for 142 yards and a touchdown. And oh yeah, he's completed 5 of 6 passes for 72 yards and a touchdown. And again, Taysom Hill's numbers have been on the rise of late. And our flex, yes, he's missed the last 3 games, but boy, was he productive when he was playing. That is Kyron Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. Left to miss at least one more game, but a fifth round pick in 2022 totaled just 139 yards as a rookie in 6 games this year, 456 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 13 receptions, and a receiving score as well. His 18.5 points per game are the 6th most amongst running backs. He had 2 100-yard games in his 6 total games, 4 games with at least 1 rushing touchdown, 2 games with 2, and 3 games with multi-touchdowns, as he had a game with a rushing and receiving touchdown. Kyron Williams, fans can't wait for him to come back, as he was having such an awesome start to the season. Of course, many believe Campbell Akers would be the starting running back. Of course, he got traded to the Vikings after he lost this spot after just 1 game. So there you have it. That is my mid-season 2023 all mostly went undrafted fantasy team. A few other guys who deserve consideration include Sam Howell at quarterback, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, and tight ends a couple, Jake Ferguson and Logan Thomas. Really considered Ferguson. Ended up going with Hill, who's put up double-digit scoring in each of the last 4 games. But who are some of the guys that maybe you did not draft that have performed well for you and have helped you succeed, as we are at about the halfway point of the fantasy season? Of course, a lot of fantasy leagues end after week 17. So after today will be 9 out of 17 weeks. So I did this before the Monday night game because there really isn't any options in the Jets Chargers game that was considered for this. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.